All right.
Hard end. Didn't even fade it out. You're just like, nope.
Hard cutoff.
Done.
So, check it out. Here we are. Dapper Devils Podcast, episode number 7.
Yeah.
7. Episode number 7 is a special episode. It is the origin story episode.
Ooh.
Yeah. I know everybody's been so curious and waiting about this origin story. How did these two guys meet each other and end up sitting at a stupid desk talking about nothing together? So here we are.
Before we go any further.
Oh, you're right. Before we go any further,
we would like to thank the sponsors of this podcast.
Kittens, 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 kittens. Wait, is that not it? It's not like... Oh, yeah. Right. Let's thank the sponsors of the podcast. So before we go any farther, let's start with our sponsors. Pixel Popcorn Media Group, James Thomas Productions, and Unscripted Studios. Consciousness very much elevated today by Old Ellsworth Brewing Company.
It's their 6th anniversary today.
Today is their 6th anniversary, and we just left there after having some beers. And
Well, you had beer. I just had water.
after having some beers, we left there.
Yeah.
And here we are with more beers.
So I'm not going to drink today.
I wasn't going to drink today.
We sat down. You're like, I'll have one.
Yeah. That's my resolve is very strong. I sit down. I tell myself I'm not going to drink. They said, "Do you want a beer?" And I go, "Yeah."
They didn't even ask. You were just like, I'll take a beer.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to go
You weak-willed bitch.
where everybody brings you alcohol without asking.
Then it becomes dangerous, though.
It's better than Cheers. They feed into your alcoholism and don't ask you
Jesus.
questions. So origin story is, it's something like this, and you never know when you're going to meet somebody.
Right.
In any place you're going to meet them, and you're like, kittens, 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 we're kittens, kittens. And so, you never know.
So fucking stupid.
You never know when this is going to happen, and so
You should not be allowed to play with the mixer. Randomly thrown up. Yeah, there we go. Uh-huh. Okay.
what's up with some kittens?
Meow.
Well, because post-production is going to advertise this episode as a kittens episode, I felt like we needed to do some kittens
It's true.
sound bites to
Well,
make
didn't you
it
say
accurate.
It's the most searched for word on YouTube. It's kittens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Kittens is
beating
like,
that algorithm.
right, we're the algorithm busters.
Jesus.
If you get in here and you're expecting other kittens, well,
Don't expect a lot.
yeah, this isn't actually a kittens show, but we have pictures of them,
It's true.
or mostly full-grown cats. Honestly,
Look,
like
dude, I googled kittens.
like-
This is what popped up.
he googled kittens and you came up with this one. Oh, loud, he coming.
No, I specifically googled for that one. That one's fucking funny.
Well, it is funny, but it's not a kitten.
You could be.
So
Could be an all out he coming. 3 weeks old.
yeah, but anyway, so I'm an interesting weirdo, or even just a weirdo, and maybe not interesting. But before COVID happened, I found myself in a place where I had lots and lots of art, random art, prints, canvases, giclées, all kinds of stuff.
I feel like it's safe to give the backstory that we're both the same in the sense that we'll hyperfixate on something.
Yes.
The moment you get kind of interested, it's like, well, I'm going to just go hard.
Yeah, so a Scorpio is definitely known to become obsessive over something that they really get interested in, and that happened to me with art, specifically with urban art, street art, or anybody that kind of catered to that aesthetic.
Yeah.
I hate that word, aesthetic.
I mean, you had stuff like Nichos.
Yes, Nichos, Sandra Chevrier.
Ben Watson. Is that who I'm thinking of? The guy with where he does the pull away. Is that? I know it's a Watson.
Oh no, that's Martin Watson.
Martin Watson. Okay.
Yeah, Martin Watson's great. And I look around my room. I've got the Connor brothers in here. I've got Tenile.
I was thinking the ones like on the staircase.
Yeah. Oh, that's Martin Watson.
Yeah.
Mimi Ewan, who is she's also dabbles in comic book art, but
Oh, nice.
either way,
Yeah.
you know,
You got very into it.
I was obsessed with art, and I found myself in a spot where I thought, I have enough art. I think it's interesting in a way. Maybe I can compose it into a gallery and have people come look at what I think is beautiful,
Right.
and appreciate it. And so I thought, well, I need to frame these pieces to actually highlight the art, to give it its proper, display.
Yeah.
And so at that time, I started looking around for a place, a framing shop, because I didn't know anything. And I found a framing shop. It's funny because normally I would probably avoid a place that was named like this.
Yeah.
Because it's
a
so
terrible name.
cheesy. But this place was called Hall of Frames. And I chose to go there because it was just the place, it was closest to my house.
Yeah.
Next to the closest framing shop by almost 10 miles.
Right.
Something stupid. And I went, well, then obviously I'll go here.
Right.
And so I went into Hall of Frames, and at first I met this guy, Steve, Beanpole Steve.
He's a very tall guy.
He's tall and lanky, 6'5".
I was going to say like 6'5", maybe like 140.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, in monsoon season, he doesn't go outside because he's like, he'll never stay grounded.
It just gets swept away.
Yeah, seriously. Like, yeah. And if he listens to Frank Sinatra in a monsoon, he's dead.
Jesus.
Like, it's just death.
No, it's funny though, because around that time that you would come in, that company was doing. They did it twice a year, but they were basically just doing like a spiff where if you sold the highest grade quality glass, in this case museum glass, you got extra money.
Yeah.
I think you brought in 30 pieces to start. It wasn't like I'm going to do one and see how it goes. You brought in 30.
Yeah.
He helped you, and he didn't even offer it.
Yeah, yeah. So, okay. First of all, I mean, I think a lot of us have worked a retail job in their past.
Yes.
I have worked a retail job in my past. Many of them,
Sure.
actually. And, when I was there, did I care about Bed Bath & Beyond and their pillows and their trash cans and their fucking brooms?
I'm going to say no.
No, I didn't. I didn't care. And like, I tell this example. I think I've told you this story before, but like,
Yeah.
I am not a salesman.
Right.
I don't give a shit. If you don't buy it, I don't
Well, that's
give a shit.
That's how I've always operated. It's like, look, dude, I don't need your money.
Yeah.
I just want to help you get the best product for what you have.
I also don't get anything from it. And
Well, yeah.
so, like, when I was working at Bed Bath & Beyond, at one point they put us through these, what did they call them? It was like Bed Bath & Beyond University, basically.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and so like one of the classes that I remember going through and becoming certified, I became a certified coffee maker
Ooh.
salesman guy.
But so like you were the guy that like if someone had a question about coffee makers, you were that guy.
Yeah, I was certified to explain everything to you about the coffee makers. And so what did I take away from that education is that they put the Krups coffee maker next to the Mr. Coffee maker. And the Krups coffee maker costed $169.99 retail. And the Mr. Coffee maker cost $19.99 retail. And they were the same fucking thing.
Right.
All the Krups coffee machine thing did was you could set a timer at night so that your coffee would just automatically make itself in the fucking morning. And I think there was one of those little foam dicky-do things that you're supposed to be able to stick your coffee in to make a cappuccino.
Yeah.
But nobody can fucking do that at home, let's be real.
Sure.
It doesn't work out right, and then you don't clean it right, and then you just have rancid milk in a fucking hose on your fucking counter.
Yeah.
So you don't do that. Let's be real, you don't do that. So every time people would come to the store and ask me about these coffee makers, I would sell the Mr. Coffee maker for $19.99.
Right.
And my manager, at one point, my manager asked me, why are we always out of the Mr. Coffee machine? I'm like, I don't know. I feel like people just,
It's a reasonable price. You
Yeah.
know, everyone likes to get it. You know, it's economical.
yeah, people are being frugal with regard to their coffee needs. And
Little did they know, you're just thinking like, just fucking buy this one. Does the same fucking thing.
it's the exact same machine.
Yeah.
So I sold a shitload of Mr. Coffee machines.
Yeah.
But we've all worked a retail job, and you kind of understand that retail is almost like
Hell.
I was going to say it's the job force purgatory.
Absolutely. Well, because
You
it's like a
know.
lot of people, once they start, they just stay there.
Okay, yes. So, what I realized when I was in college that I quit. It didn't.
Same.
Yeah, it didn't seem to mesh with my mentality or reality. So, but I realized working in a retail setting at that age, as I was in college for psychology, 3 of my managers at the time, Kevin, Sean, and Cindy, were all college graduates with a bachelor's in psychology
Working at a Bed Bath & Beyond.
as middle management. And so, which is great. It's fine.
Sure.
If that's what you want to do, it's fine. But I realized at that point I was going to college for something completely useless.
Right.
Like, I didn't want to be a middle management in retail for the rest of my life. At this time,
Or at all.
I was 17 to 19 years old at this time. And I'm looking at this subset of people who now, I'm in my 40s. And these people were, at the time, in their 40s. And I'm like, I don't want to do that
Right.
when I'm in my 40s. So how do I flip the script
Sure.
and change it up so I'm not doing that? And any rate, we're going to do a different day where it is my origin story on how I found my business partner and changed everything. This is about you and me.
Yeah.
So at the time, I had been in business for a while at this point in 2019.
2019, yeah.
All right, so in 2019, so at
15 years in business? No.
2007, so about my 12th year in business.
Okay.
At this point. And I'm obsessed with art.
Sure.
We've said this already in here. So my intention was to open the gallery, and this is 2019, prior to COVID.
good times.
Right. And
When the
I
world
like,
fell apart.
yeah, I mean, everybody says it's when the world fell apart. And
I just think that's a funny joke.
I just thought it was like, oh, now everybody stays at home like me.
Yeah, it's like, oh. Well, like, that's what I thought was kind of funny about that. Like, yes, tough time for a lot of people. I just thought it was funny because people were like, I'm so bored. Like, I'm stuck in the house all day. And I'm like, bitch, that's all I fucking do. Like, I don't go out.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Like, but when people are like, I can't handle it. Like, I'm getting stir crazy. I'm like, oh, you're weak. Like, this is my life. It's easy.
The interesting thing to me is like, you could still go outside.
Well, sure.
You were just not sure what you were supposed to do about being around other people.
Yeah.
And the absence of other people to me didn't translate, like you said, the same to other people, because I have a very small circle of friends.
Right.
I'm content
Yeah.
with my small circle of friends.
Dude, I've had one of the same
And-
friends for like 12 years at this point now. Like,
Well-
actually, hang on. It's
Same.
15 years?
Yeah.
2008? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So like, I love people. I think they're great in a limited capacity.
There we go.
You
Yeah.
know, but like, my thing is, I would rather be the host of the party that hires some weirdo to come through with a bullhorn at 11:30 and kick everybody out. I'm not even there.
Well, I've also seen you Irish goodbye at your own party.
I've definitely Irish goodbye at my own party.
Yes.
Like, the party's over for me at my house and I'm gone.
It's one of the funniest fucking things.
Like,
well, because everyone starts like looking, they're like, where'd he go? And it's just like, well, he probably went to bed.
yeah, man, it was over.
One room over.
It was over for me.
Yeah.
So,
But anyways,
but yeah, so I came into Hall of Frames and met the Steve Beanpole guy. And Steve the Beanpole, regardless of whether or not I knew he was in a competition to sell the better glass, he did me a disservice.
well, because he didn't even offer it.
He didn't offer it, or he didn't explain it to me. So he sold me glass that if I left my prints in an area that was touched by sun,
Well, he still gave you 99% UV protected glass. He just gave you the conservation clear. So they did the same thing. One just had no reflection. But
yeah, I
to your
mean,
point, you went in and you're like, I want the best glass. And he just went, okay.
yeah. So that was my first experience in this store. I didn't know that Aaron was working there at the time.
I think I started back there like a week later.
Okay, well,
So,
I mean,
close enough.
I was to say, this is the part of the history I am not privy to.
Right.
And then I went back and I met his boss, Cammy, and she helped me out. And at some point, I just started spending a lot of time in the framing store. I'm
Yes.
very particular about what I want to happen with my art pieces. I think it out a lot. I
'Cause
go
also, too,
through.
whether or not it is or not, but it's like these things are a lot of money, and you want them to be taken care of the right way. You
Yeah.
want it to look the way you're envisioning it.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
the framing costs itself, they are definitely expensive. And
I meant just like the artwork itself, though.
oh, well, the artwork, yes. The artwork, is expensive as well.
But
But
even if
all
it's
of
not-
it, all of it together, though, I always have a very specific idea of what I want the end result to look like.
Right.
And so we all kind of formed this interesting creative bond, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Like there was a point at which we did 10 or so Superman pieces,
Oh.
and we made, the part that I contributed to this was I bought the Superman comic books,
Yeah.
and then the store took poster board and paper mache made these custom spacers for my pieces. So all of my Superman pieces in that realm have a custom spacer that directly correlates to
With-
the story going on in
Yep.
the art. And so I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, like a good example would be, it's the panel from, I don't even know what year it is, but is it Doomsday or
Yeah.
Apocalypse?
Doomsday, yeah.
Okay, when the day that Superman died, and like that's the part of the flag on the artwork, and then right underneath it, I put that exact panel of the strip in the spacer because I was like, I feel like that works pretty well.
Yeah.
Like-
and so at some point I realized, because I'm a business owner, and it's just what I do. So I was spending a lot of time in the framing store, and I got to know their employees, and I determined who I just wanted touching my artwork and who I didn't want touching my artwork.
Which is
and
very fair.
Yeah.
It's, like, nothing mean against these people, but like you would look at someone and be like, you'll fuck it up. Which I've seen that person fuck up artwork. So it's like,
Yeah, so I just got to a level where I basically, this was the only person I was letting working on my stuff, and then the store kind of used it against me in a way a little bit, because I'm never in a rush, and
Right.
so they would kind of push my projects to the back and whatever.
because
And
it became you had made the comment of if it takes longer than the typical 2-week turnaround, that's all right as long as it's done right, and that got misconstrued into, oh, you can just do it whenever.
yeah,
And
so, and either way,
yeah,
at some point, I feel like I came into the store and like you were working alone or something.
probably.
And so we were doing some work on some framing and talking about something. And, I've always had this idea in my head, or series of ideas in my head, I guess, of tapping into this subversive art style that is going on,
Right.
where there are many urban artists who use recognizable brands, and then they take it and they put their own twist on it and do something really cool with it, whether it be perverse, whether it be,
Well, I was gonna say, so going off that, your design was the Nike swoop
yeah,
as a cock and balls.
yeah. So
Like, I mean, it's funny, it's
That-
recognizable.
yeah.
because I think, what did we make was the caption just screw it?
Yeah, just screw it.
Yeah.
So, like, that was my very first idea for some sort of urban art takeover. I
Basically just made a
thought
stencil.
it would be cool to take a stencil and tag businesses that were, like, so out of their boundaries on capitalism and not actually giving anything back to their customers,
Right.
that it would be funny to just brand them with Nike cocks
Yes.
that said "just screw
Absolutely.
it" like everywhere. And so he made this poster board stencil of this Nike cock, which I have somewhere.
Don't know where. It's around.
Yeah, but
Worst case, we'll make another one.
yeah, but I also thought I have kids, I have a business, and I started thinking of the legality issues of it. And it's like, do I need to be the one to take a chance
Probably
doing
not.
this? No. Should I employ somebody later on that goes
Is that what I'm going to be doing?
that goes around tagging stuff? Yes, I should. And so that's kind of how it started. And then,
Well, and then you came up with.
well, okay. So it started that way.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of ideas. I have way more ideas, but some of them are fucked up. And
Some of them.
And so, I thought, Skittles. People know Skittles.
Sure.
And they really enjoy Skittles. And I thought, well, I have an idea for a subvertive Skittles ad. It's Skittles. And
It was just like, I remember you were. I distinctly remember the three that you brought up, and each one I was like, they just get worse.
yeah.
Because the first one, because originally the way it started was like, you were like, I have this great idea for a gummy bear.
Yeah. Oh, was that the first
That was the first one, and you're like, I don't want it to be a gummy bear. I want it to be a cummy bear.
Yeah, it's got to be.
And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's disgusting. I love it.
Which we can just do a preview of the Gummy Bear.
So it started as the gummy bear, and then you're like, what if you made it like Hitler? And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And then, because at the bottom it's still kind of like melty looking, and you're like, well, hang on, Hitler had a shit fetish, which I didn't know.
Yes.
And so you're like, you should add some scat to that.
Yeah, we need to poo it up.
Yeah, and so I did, and then
And
we
then-
created Shitler.
Yeah, so that day Shitler was born.
Yeah.
But let's go back to Skittles, because it's funny how the art evolves, right? Because the first iteration of Skittles was just the lips and the Spittles.
It was like a rainbow dribble coming out.
Yeah, and I was like, no, we need to cum it up more,
Yeah.
yes, let's
Such a phrase. Cum it up more.
Yeah, can you cum it up some more? And so that's basically how the genesis
Yeah.
of this twisted friendship started. Was
Yeah.
I'm willing to push the boundaries. You have the ability. Where will you go with it?
Dude, I'll go anywhere.
And so that kind of started the party with all of that, and then
Then shortly after that, we basically just started working out because you've got a gym.
Yeah. Well, okay. I don't Here's what I need to fill you people in on right now. This is why we started working out. I always have thought okay, if I get the fish on the line, maybe I can reel it in, right? And so I knew this motherfucker could do art.
Just fucking used me.
I knew. So,
You motherfucker.
So yeah, this is real truth coming out in real time. So I knew he could do art, and so we did the couple of things we did, and then I was like, hey man, I have this really interesting, unique story for a Batman plot.
Yeah.
For a Batman plot. Would you draw the comic? And he's like, no.
Straight up just, nah.
I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? I thought I left you some breadcrumbs, and then we're going to get to the real shit. And you're like, no. And I'm like, dude, okay, cool. And so at that...
Plan backfired.
Yeah, so at that point, I was like, well, I guess we should lift some weights. I don't know. I don't know.
It's been miserable ever since.
Yeah. So, but that's kind of how it all started. And then, that's kind of where I'm at.
Pretty much. We've been friends since 2019, but
Yeah.
I've had multiple different jobs, but I'd say prior to doing this, I probably saw you at least 2 or 3 times every week, sometimes more, because we would just work out. So
yeah, and I think we would work out and bullshit, and
that's all we do.
But it's weird because sometimes you meet a person, you're like, you
could work out with them, but you're like, once that's done, you're like, all right, later.
Yeah, and it was more of a humorous thing where there's kind of stupid stuff happening, and it's not just lifting weights is okay or whatever, but if you if somebody makes you realize or forget that you're doing it, it's better.
Yeah, I've realized. You taught it to me, but which you taught to all your employees.
Yeah.
Small sips.
Yeah, small sips.
Small sips and must be employed around you at all times, because if you're I finished a set, or even whatever you're doing, you're like, oh cool, I need some water, so you start taking a lot of it. you're an asshole. You're just gonna say some shit that makes you laugh so fucking hard that you just waste all that water.
Yeah,
Like,
it's definitely.
I've seen you do it to yourself. We were in the gym, and this was like 3 months ago, maybe. We're working out, and you made a comment, start taking a sip, and then you just spit it all over the floor because you couldn't handle how fucking stupid it was. Like,
It's true.
I was already laughing. You were dying. Like, there's been times where like I'll be like doing like a bench or something with a medicine ball or a dumbbell. You say something and I immediately throw it out of my hands because I'm like, I will drop this on my fucking face.
Yeah.
I'm laughing too hard.
It's true. It's true. And I mean,
It's always funny.
I wish I could say it's not intentional, but
It's intentional.
But like situational timing has always been something amazing
Oh,
to me.
for sure.
So-
Well, it's like when we were working out the other day, when we were doing something, and you just threw out like a random ooh woo. And I was like, hearing you say that's even funnier, just because like not a weeb, new to it. Also hearing ooh woo coming from you, it's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, come on.
It's true. But yeah, so that's kind of how we got here through I guess a measure of consistency, really, because I'm a very simple person. You know, if you tell me that you're going to do something, just do it.
Well, yeah.
You know, if you don't want to do it, just don't tell me you want to.
And even if like, because like we're both the same way too, where it's like, okay, if you say you're gonna do it, great. If something comes up or plans change, you could just be like, hey, this happened, and it's just okay, cool, no worries. Like you're not gonna be like, wow, well, you said you were gonna do this.
Yeah, no, I don't care. It's when you're just supposed to be here and it's 9 o'clock and you're not. I'm like,
Dude, there's been times where I was like, it's rare, but like I sleep in past 9, and I'm like, oh fuck, and then I'll just text you like, yeah, I'll be late.
But yeah, so you know, I think with that measure of consistency and some crossover and interest, and even though you don't want to draw Batman, you will draw our manga. Yeah, look at you not recollecting Sorty.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, it's a good story, and you know, I am not
It's so fucked up.
Well, it's just a quest about the unlayable friend.
Everyone's got one.
Everyone has one unlayable friend. Well, I'm in my 40s. I would have to think really hard to figure out who that is for me. But like everybody's
All three of
got.
them. Like all three of the friends that you have.
No, they all have kids and stuff.
Oh, so well, see, but
Yeah.
then that doesn't apply then.
Yeah. See, for me, that landscape is a little barren. But
Yeah.
but most people have that friend where you're like, dude, you're anti-sex, or you're like anti-moisture.
Well, yeah,
you know,
like you walk in a room and you dry it up quicker than the Sahara Desert.
yeah, it's like, oh shit. And so there is, like, I did some animations based on that,
Yeah.
and you know, they're super generic,
Well,
but
and we'll talk about it when we do your origin story with your partner Chris.
Yeah.
But I mean, you showed him, and even he was like, "These are fucking funny."
yeah, because
How did you say? Like, you basically were like, "Oh, he's like my litmus test." Where if I show him and he goes, "That's good," you're like, "There's something here."
yeah, because we have a similar sense of humor on
Well,
the dark side of things, but 3 minutes and 41 seconds.
Oh, you wanted a timer. All right, whatever.
What is that? A stopwatch?
Yeah.
Is that gonna, like, a bell gonna go off?
No, I was gonna stop it before that. Either way.
But yeah, Chris is generally like how I gauge what other people might think is funny, because
Right.
I find things funny that
Most people shouldn't.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Same.
And so generally, if he thinks it's funny or good, I go, I feel okay
Bringing this into the world.
qualifying my statements about this
Yeah.
now. And so I did. I showed him my my drawings, and he like looks at him and he's like, "This is stupid," and he's laughing.
him.
Yeah, and he was laughing, and so I went, "Okay, I mean, we're not off the beaten path too bad then."
Right.
And so that's kind of how it all went down. And then I told him about the concept for the podcast and the fact that I've invested in
Yeah.
doing it, and buying the gear and the set, and the backdrop and making sure that it looked professional
Yeah.
as much as it could for a new guy.
Well, and I would say too, I mean, most people, or call it 99 out of 100 people, don't get that opportunity. I mean, obviously you worked hard with your actual company to where you're able to do things like this and start something different and actually grow it and scale it from the ground up again. Like, you've already done it once.
Yeah.
You can definitely do it again. It's not like, well, maybe, but...
Well, the interesting thing is, I believe anybody can do it.
Oh, for sure. But they have to have the drive.
You have to have the drive, and the drive is good. But the important thing is being able to push through the rejection,
Yeah.
or push through the lulls, or your plateaus,
Yeah.
or whatever you may call them when
like-
you're looking at your progress goals.
We were saying the
you
other
know?
day that, like, we would say that, like, the biggest part that a lot of people face is, like, they're like, okay, like, let's say they've been doing it for 6 months and they don't have whatever milestone they set for themselves, so they go, you know what, I'm just gonna quit. And it's like, well,
Right.
yeah, it's tough for sure, and obviously it's easier said than done, but, like, if you can at least push past that, that's how you'll get somewhere. Like, I think a lot of people
Yeah.
fail to remember that the most famous person, whether they be a streamer or a celebrity, they all started from nothing too,
Right.
for the most part. Obviously, some of them have outside help.
Yeah, I mean, some people
Either way,
have.
they come from the bottom too.
Yes, some people have Francis Coppola as a father, and
Fucking
then
Nick Cage.
and then Nick Cage comes about.
Right.
Or even his daughter Sofia Coppola, who has done a lot of director stuff.
Sure.
We don't all have that same advantage, but
But also too, I mean, but like, sure, they had that advantage, but if they sucked, they wouldn't have continued or, like, gotten as far necessarily.
explain Nick Cage.
Nick Cage is great. How dare you? He's delightfully terrible,
Exactly.
and I would love for him to be here.
I would love for him to be here too.
Dude,
but
I would talk his ear off about bullshit.
I would see if he would smoke a bowl,
Oh, I guarantee he would. Dude, that dude
With
dresses like
me.
a fucking pimp.
depending on the role. Yes.
No, like, just on average. Like, Adam Sandler dresses in, like, basketball shorts and triple XL baggy tees. I feel like Nick Cage is, like, fur coat, pinstripe pants, just because he can. Top hat.
I mean, Adam Sandler can too. I tend to agree with Adam Sandler's wardrobe.
Oh, absolutely. Comfy as fuck. But,
That's my wardrobe.
yeah, but Nick Cage is Nick Cage.
For sure.
Like,
But yeah, there are, like, a lot of actors that they push through bullshit, and
Right.
they had adversity, and we don't always look at it like that because they're making millions of dollars to be in a movie,
sure.
and we go, wow, that would be great, but those 27-hour days on shoot on the worst movie ever. The director was a cocksucker. No matter what they did, it was bad.
Right.
And they had to push through that, and they had to learn something from that experience. That is where a star is actually born.
Yeah, well, and, like, yeah, I mean, that's definitely one of those things where it's like, if you can push past that adversity, regardless of what you're doing, you'll be able to make it in some capacity.
Yeah, I think so.
The moment you decide, you know what, I'm just going to give up, that's where it all just goes to shit, obviously.
Oh, Lord, he coming.
Oh, Lord, he coming.
Oh, he coming. Oh, Lord, he coming.
Is that talking about the shit that I'm brewing? Oh, Lord, he coming.
Potentially, it's potentially we're talking about that. So, does anybody know the cat weight rating scale and the fact that "Oh Lord, he coming" is the top of the top of the
Best one. Because it's what? It's like
Well, I know.
a chonk,
Yeah.
a heckin' chonker, and then I think it goes to "Oh, Lord, he coming."
Yeah, there are like levels of cat fatitude.
Yeah.
and it's just like hilarious.
I remember when I showed you that, you were just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Like,
and I immediately thought of my cat Zeus from my childhood because "Oh Lord, he coming."
oh, Lord, he coming.
I mean, dude was like he was a solid 32-pounder.
Oh, here we go. We got the chonk chart. We got a fine boy, he chonk, a heckin' chonker, a hefty chonk, a mega chonker, and oh, Lord, he coming.
Yeah, it's
Which is 65% body fat.
yeah, yeah.
65% body fat for a cat is a lot. I mean, for anybody,
I was gonna say
it's a lot.
for anyone.
But a cat.
But just think about that ratio. I'm not good at math. Okay,
You think I am?
you're 200 pounds. 65% is body fat. I can already tell you 100 pounds is body fat.
Well, yeah, 'cause it's 50%.
Plus 15%.
Yeah.
Bro.
Was that like 120?
Bro.
Ish?
Like,
I don't know.
you're like walking out the door in terror of harpoon fat.
Ooh.
Like,
We talking like Brendan Fraser, the whale fat?
I'm talking like Ahab around your corner fat. Like,
Call me Ishmael.
yeah, you about to be fucked up, you know? Like,
Someone get Queequeg. We gonna throw some spears at this motherfucker.
seriously,
Harpoon that bitch.
that Mac Beauty Company is coming at you for your shit.
Jesus.
Because you got the finest blubber fat. like, no.
Do they actually use fat in their products?
I have no clue.
No, I was like, I don't know how fucking makeup's made.
I really don't know.
Never once worn it in my life, nor do I plan to.
I was gonna say I don't wear makeup.
Nope, I roll with the punches.
I know at one point I got slightly curious about the whales and stuff because Hayden Panettiere was interested in, and she was an activist, and I think she's hot. So I was like,
Well, yeah,
yeah,
goddamn.
like me and the whales too. Like,
Definition of a simp. You're like, oh, you like the whales? What's good, girl? I like them whales too.
well, I mean, I just read the article. It's not like I did anything extra.
Oh no, so that's how I interpreted that. You were like, let me do some research on these whales. What do they got going on?
Nah, man. She just had an article in Men's Health,
Gotcha. All right.
and I read it.
How was it?
It's all right.
It's okay.
Honestly, the shark fins documentary with Gordon Ramsay was more interesting.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I feel like it was in the Philippines where they do finning,
Okay.
and like they would just kill sharks
Yeah.
specifically for the fin.
Well, it's basically like tusking with elephants in Africa.
Yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
I think we devolved at this point. Like,
Little bit.
Like we're at like
Kittens.
Right.
Kittens.
Like an air horn on there.
maybe there might be an air horn. We can hit some haptics.
Oh, that
Not that one. It's not that one. And it's not
that one's accurate for the kittens. It's like, yeah. That one's trombone.
That
Jesus
works.
Christ.
Kittens.
There it is. There it is.
We found it, folks.
The kittens.
Kittens. With that being said, the origin story episode has ended. If you guys want to hear more or less about it, tell us about if you want to hear more. And if you want to hear less, yeah. Like, subscribe.
Ring the bell.
Yeah, YouTube things. Do that stuff. And peace till the next time.